process.
Thank you, Jenny, for that interesting talk. I think we have a lot to reflect on.
Yeah, I feel so much calmer, more relaxed. Now, brace yourselves as we welcome a speaker who is ready to challenge how the world sees Gen Z.
Our next speaker, Daphni Maria Babanika, is an S6 student in the German section. Daphni will address a stigma that many of us have heard, that our generation is lazy and uninspired. Get ready for a talk that will prove otherwise.
Let's welcome Daphni Maria Babanika to the stage.
So, over the years, the state of the world has changed and evolved for a multitude of reasons, from globalization to scientific advancements with the invention of the internet. So, since the conditions under which we live in have shifted with time as well, the generations have had to adapt to a different world, each a different one from the others. And with that, the generations have been stigmatized by their most prominent characteristics. For example, boomers are typically known to be very judgy, whereas millennials are often perceived as cringy. And since life has become substantially more comfortable in recent times, our generation, Gen Z, has been stigmatized as being lazy and unproductive. That is, we aren't expected to achieve any big goals or have any effect on the world in that matter. However, this conception could not be further from the truth. Time after time, we have proved that we are just as hardworking as our previous generations. In fact, I will take it one step further and challenge that narrative by saying that we are one of the most productive generations post-globalization. So, if that is the case, if we are so productive, why is this negative view so wildly spread? Well, the answer is simple. We prioritize other things. We work differently. We take breaks and skip work simply for the sake of our mental health. Mental stability is a key factor in our lives, and we believe in a good work-life balance. We avoid overworking ourselves, and with that, also burnouts in our mid-30s. The other generations had to work hours on end in hope for financial stability, and that was just too much. So this narrative is so traditional, it is outdated. And that's why we are flexible and we have more opportunities to adapt to different scenarios. Because we decided that if the work environment is toxic, we will not put up with it. Another factor that plays a substantial role in our so-called laziness is that we know how to use our resources. The internet has gifted us artificial intelligence, such as ChatGPT, that has made, say, working on a project a lot easier. So in our minds, why not use it? It only seems logical, but others don't always agree. The older generations believe that since it is so easy for us, we don't put in any effort. We don't do the work that we are supposed to. But in my opinion, we are just being resourceful. Since these means are given to us for a reason, why make our lives more complicated by not using them? Now, I just left the question open. What do we do if our lazy asses don't put up with toxic work environments? We shift our focus to entrepreneurship. We are a creative generation, and with social media having such a big impact on society nowadays, our ideas can be marketed effortlessly. A big part of our generation has either plans on building their own business or already started building a foundation to do so. In fact, a 2020 survey from WP Engine has shown that over 60% more Gen Zs have followed a path of entrepreneurship in comparison to the older generations. This proves the whole idea that we are lazy wrong, because starting a business is a lot of work. If we are as lazy as everybody says, why choose a career path that requires discipline, attention, devotion? That makes no sense. And apart from that, we are fighting for our world as we are facing additional challenges as the future of the world. Since the modern world has been changing so rapidly, so have its politics, and the economic crisis and our very open mindset have led to the far right gaining traction. People demand change and have therefore somehow forgotten about the values that human rights hold. Specifically speaking about what's happening in the US right now, in the election of Harris versus Trump in 2024, a lot of young people started using their voice to raise awareness. They turned to social media and started talking about what Trump is trying to do and debating Republicans, leaving one after the other speechless. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm specifically referring to a college student in California, Dean Withers, who uses his social media platforms to inform and warn the public about Trump's behavior. Unfortunately, the US isn't the only country this is happening in right now. Take a look at Germany. The AfD, or the alternative for Germany, has gained over 13% of the voters in the previous elections. They have continuously pushed for deportation of innocent civilians, similarly to Trump, and policies that just go against the human rights that are so important. We are burdened by the stupidity of the older generations because somehow they have forgotten how the world was almost destroyed in the 1930s and 40s. We have no choice but to try and stop history from repeating itself, because if we don't do it, no one will. We are the ones to inherit whatever happens now, and we cannot let anything else happen, because it will have crazy effects on whatever happens in the future. So doesn't that go against the narrative as well? Last time I checked, it does. And the same thing applies to environmental awareness. So global warming is a serious problem, and yet not everybody is doing their part. Our generation has pushed more than others for sustainability. We are calling out large corporations for their ignorance. We have started initiatives and stressed the importance of our environment and the disasters climate change can cause if nothing is done. The best example for this is Greta Thunberg, who was only 13 when she started protesting. She challenged world leaders to recognize climate change, and with that also the world. That was known as the Greta effect. So her speech, in which she accuses the adults of robbing us of our childhood, highlights the responsibility of environmental awareness forced upon us. In her words, how dare you? And I completely agree. How dare you steal our right to let loose and be stupid teens? And how dare you expect us to do nothing, because after all, we are the lazy generation, and yet place this enormous burden on us. You have realized your mistakes too late, and now you expect us to save the world, and yet we are so lazy? Well, we won't stand for that. We are the ones to inherit your mess, and we have to clean it as fast as possible and as much as possible, because the Earth is a climate ticking clock. And repeating myself, if we don't do it, no one will. Beyond that, Our generation has also been invested in science. We have more opportunities to develop new ideas and work on existing ones from a pretty young age because of the resources that exist right now. Gen Z has been able to learn not only in a theoretical manner, but also in the experimental one. We have the opportunity to showcase our talent in numerous competitions and prove that we are just as hardworking as our predecessors, and we do. There are so many examples demonstrating how hardworking our young minds are. Our school alone offers such a wide variety of projects, from the competitions like the Math and Science Olympiads, the ESSS, which is our science fair, or projects like CANSAT competition, which is a competition by the ESA, which is the European Space Agency, which promotes engineering. So what makes CANSAT though so special is that if the work of the students in the project fascinates the ESA, they might use it for their own research. So basically, we as students have a chance to directly impact scientific advancements at a pretty young age. That's really cool. So Gen Z is growing up very differently to prior generations. We have to deal with challenges like no one has before, and at the same time have the opportunity to do whatever we want with our lives. We look towards innovation rather than tradition, and simply because it's different doesn't mean that we are lazy. We are hardworking and involved in so many aspects of the world, and we are simply more efficient in our work. We are the generation that goes to infinity and beyond all expectations. Thank you. Wait, do I mute it first? What did you guys
Thank you, Daphne, for such a relevant talk. Sadly, that brings us to the end of this session. Thank you to our speakers, Ginny and Daphne, for their inspiring talks, and you, our audience, for your attention and your curiosity.
We'll be back shortly after the break with more thought-provoking talks. Thank you.